It's been a long dream for us to start this. After the race 2020 was done, it kind of created a lot of buzz all over. And we in the race 2020, which we did at a very short notice, we got more than 80,000 participants from 147 countries. And over a period of 5 days, we had 48 sessions with 321 speakers. And almost every session, till which the last session used to end late in the night, which we had scheduled to ensure that global speakers and global participants also take part. In almost every session, we had a minimum of 2,000 participants in a virtual mode. So this conference that we did was bigger than what we had anticipated. We got support from industry, we got support from academia, and together we were able to create kind of a roadmap for India's AI journey. And as we are moving ahead, we are finalizing the national program on AI, which will seek to address all the AI related issues with regard to promoting research at our top academic institutions, working in partnership with the industry to build up AI solutions, taking up moonshot projects, and also creating AI infrastructure in the form of supercomputing infrastructure that CDAC is building to enable India to take up the leadership in the field of artificial intelligence. With that in mind and with that in background, we decided why not we continue the raise discussions, and what better could have been but rather to start something called AI Pe Charcha, which will mean discussion on AI and AI related aspects. And when we do that, we want to have the partners from industry giving us a perspective with regard to what's happening worldwide, what's possible in the field of AI, and how we can leverage it for building India's AI ecosystem. In today's session, we have lead speakers from Microsoft, Mr. Rob Elsinga, and the National Technology Officer from Netherlands. I'm really grateful for you to have joined this session. And then we have Dr. Rohini Srivatsa, who is, for all practical purposes, part of our team in helping us guide on our AI journey. We have Shali Goel, we have Shreya Ghosh, who was kind enough to have a session with us a few weeks back in order to plan this event today. We have Tarun Kalra, who has always been a pillar of support in anything that we do related to technology. So I'm truly grateful to the entire team of Microsoft who have joined us for this first AI Pe Charcha, which will be focusing on infusing AI into citizen-centric services. And with this in the background, I am sure the viewers and listeners who have joined in from across the country, from across central government departments, they all are waiting to hear from the experts with regard to what all is possible, how it is possible, how other countries are doing it, what are the best practices, and how do we build up responsible AI and addressing the ethical part of AI also.
First of all, big congratulations to Abhishek sir for just reminding us of the amazing race 2020 that we had. Even in the middle of the pandemic, it was a superb show in terms of the quality of conversations and the quality and extent of participation from around the world that we were able to witness and really learn from. I think even before the race summit 2020 that was held, I just want to draw attention to a report that the Honorable Minister of IT, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, had released a report by NASSCOM, which was bringing forth the value of data for the country in the context of the Honorable Prime Minister's vision for a $5 trillion economy. And that the report was talking about the impact of data and AI to be about $500 billion to India's GDP by 2025. And in many ways, it was a great acknowledgement for the role of data and AI in the country's economic growth, even though we were in the middle of the pandemic. Clearly, the report also, and from there on, talked about the role that the data will play beyond economic as a broad economic impact in terms of realizing the Prime Minister's vision for India from all the social sectors that are important for the country, whether it's agriculture, small, medium businesses, healthcare, financial services. And it was very clearly called out as to while India is becoming a data-rich country and is on track to really have that strong asset in that space, it will take important initiatives from the government, from startups, from the industry to come together to leverage that data and bring in AI. So we're starting today's session by focusing on citizen services. And the reason for focusing on citizen services is that it really cuts across ministries, across states, and has a direct impact on how citizens experience the government, how citizens avail of government services and interact and for their social welfare. So we have planned this workshop to be a mixture of global expertise with Rob, my colleague from Netherlands, is going to speak about how AI is being leveraged in Europe for various use cases. And we do have some discussion slots planned in the middle, and then Shelley Goel, who is an expert in AI from our engineering team, who will speak about solutions in AI that can be leveraged for citizen services.
I'm honored to do the keynote presentation for this large initiative. You've also already done a wonderful introduction of myself. So I'm the National Technology Officer and colleague of Rohini in the Netherlands. I work for 18 years for Microsoft now. And I'm very much focused on regulated markets and on innovative technologies, including ethics and AI. Let me start with a European perspective. Microsoft let me start there. For the European Union, artificial intelligence is a very big topic. So there is a strategic plan, and it's being considered as one of the main initiatives to be a leader in artificial intelligence. And for that, they've launched a program. The program is very much focused on privacy, on ethics, but also on sharing of data within the European Union and making sure that there is a federated data infrastructure to share information. Microsoft recently did a survey in the European Union for 213 public sector companies in healthcare, in central government, and in transportation for the status of artificial intelligence in Europe. And out of that, the main conclusion, I will not go into detail, but the main conclusion of this research by Ernst & Young was that most organizations are currently stuck in a proof of concept phase. So they're exploring what AI can mean for the organizations, and there is only 4% of the organizations who is using artificial intelligence for their prime mission of the organization and using as a transformational technology to change the nature of their business and making maximum use of it. So I think that is interesting. The main barriers for that is skills. So in Europe, the public sector, only 11% of the organizations think that they are ready to apply artificial intelligence in their main processes. And that is skills all across the board. I would almost say it starts on the level of leadership, strategy, and goes down in the organization. What I would want to do is take you through a couple of examples and try to inspire you, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions on it. And of course, I know a little bit more about the Dutch scenarios than about the European examples in general. But the first one I like to highlight is the European Parliament that you currently see on the screen. European Parliament consists of 24 countries. And these 24 countries all have their own language and currently have to negotiate, have to discuss, have to share information either in English, in German, or in French. And as you can imagine, for none of the organizations or for none of the countries, that is their native language. So the European Parliament has started an initiative to break the language barriers and to make it possible for all these languages and all these people to talk their own language and have speech to text translation directly for example, from Greek to Dutch, or from French to Italian. This can only be done by artificial intelligence. And Microsoft has been selected as one of the partners of the European Parliament to make that possible. I've personally been involved by providing 5,000 hours of video of the Dutch Parliament that has been translated with text, that has been fed in our machine learning tools. And within weeks or a couple of months, we were able to add the Dutch language to our repository of languages and making it possible to translate directly speech to text or text to speech. If we look at the Netherlands is only a small country, especially if you compare it to India. We have a little over 17 million people. However, we are the third largest country in GDP in Europe, and we are the 17th country on a global scale. So we're small, but we're efficient. And I'd like to take you through a couple of examples. First, to start off with the status of where are we from a cloud perspective, is that in the Dutch government, we see that all central government organizations and all municipalities, hospitals have adopted cloud. There's only one ministry at the moment, that's the tax authority, that hasn't adopted cloud, mainly due to privacy reasons. As you can imagine, privacy in Europe, the GDPR, is a very big topic and a very big concern. And if you ask my opinion, sometimes it's even preceding other fundamental rights like healthcare, as we can see in the current pandemic. Microsoft in the Netherlands has been negotiating with the Dutch government for the last 2 years about GDPR and making sure there was a privacy assessment for all our cloud servers to make it possible for the government to make use of our cloud services in a GDPR privacy way. And we are currently working with our partners to also make sure that both on the Microsoft side, but also on the customer side, we can do this in a very secure way. To take you through a number of examples where we let me start first with some organizations that are ahead in the Dutch government. And one of the organizations is, as you see here in the left top right of the top corner, it's called RDW. It's the organization of the Dutch government that does all the registration of vehicles, cars, boats, motorcycles, equipment in the Netherlands, and also hands out a driver's license. This organization is one of the first making sure that all this information is made available for example, car dealers, for organizations that like to build upon the information of vehicles and cars in the Netherlands, and is even using artificial intelligence to do fraud detection with, for example, import cars from Germany. Another organization that is very much ahead in the Netherlands using cloud and AI is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is one of the first who took cloud as their prime platform to make sure that everyone all around the world connected to Dutch embassies is able to apply for a visa. So if you, for example, in India, you need a visa, you used to go to the embassy, and now it is possible to have a digital solution to apply for a visa. Next to that, they have around 60 AI solutions, for example, helping them to assess the impact of trade barriers, to do some real-time simulation, or in a region collect all the information that is going around on online platforms, in newspapers and so on, to assess the economic and the political climate in a specific country, and to make sure that we are able to protect our citizens in that specific country. Another example here in the middle, where you see the cars, is that the Dutch government is collecting all road information. So we have detection electronics in the main roads of the Netherlands, and we're collecting all this information about traffic lights, car traffic, and we put it in a big data warehouse in the cloud, and we feed that back into navigation systems and into alarming systems. For example, if there is someone driving on the wrong side of the road, that is something you need to know in a couple of minutes. On the bottom, there is the crisis, what we call crisis NL. That is the environment where people are informed and alarmed and about when there is a major crisis in the Netherlands. And cloud is, for example, being used to have scalability and making sure that millions of people are able to access this at the same time. If we dive into artificial intelligence, what is very, I would almost say, what is a very hot topic at the moment is digital twins. Artificial intelligence to make real-time decisions on traffic, mobility, transportation, and being able to, with a digital twin, based on air quality, based on traffic intensity, those kind of things, water quality, to make sure that you make decisions in a city. For example, if you close a bridge or a tunnel, what the impact would be on the rest of the city in terms of, for example, of noise. Or the organization that helps us with that is called TNO. It's a research organization. I talked to them this morning, and I do understand that they even worked with CRRI, I believe, for the Delhi to see if they could use these models to simulate transportation and traffic in Delhi. Another example that I like to share with you is the city of Amsterdam. The city of Amsterdam is also one of the cities that has embraced, I would almost say, has a cloud-first policy to make sure that they're innovative with their digital transformation. But why is the city of Amsterdam important? And that is because they have an algorithm register online, where they inform citizens about the algorithms, the decisions, the use, the data use, when it will be deleted, those kind of things, to have maximum transparency and making sure that they have an ethic approach and a responsible approach to artificial intelligence. And for example, they do this in the area of fraud detection. In the middle, you see holiday rental housing fraud. Almost 30 to 40% of the houses in Amsterdam are being rented by Airbnb. And there is a rule that you can only do this for 60%. And there is a huge fraud going on in using and taking away a lot of, let's say, housing capacity in Amsterdam. So artificial intelligence is being used to make sure that people are not overseeding this 60 days. Another example that you see at the left is automatic parking control, where cars are driving around, scanning license plates, and seeing if people have whether people have paid for their parking, and if not, you will automatically get a fine. All being done based on license plate recognition with our technology. The most important thing is you can exactly see what it is used for, and that your information and personal information is not shared. The third example from Amsterdam is what we call the 1.5 meter monitor, is that we have a rule in the Netherlands because of the pandemics. You should not approach each other closer than 1.5 meter. So it is very important for a city to monitor if in certain areas of the city people are coming too close and being able to, for example, block a part of the city or send people over there to make sure that people get dispersed or shops are being closed. Forms recognition is also a part of artificial intelligence. We have a bureau that's called the CBS. It's a Central Bureau of Statistics in the Netherlands, and they are the government agency for statistics. And they work together with the police because we did understand, we do feel that crime is moving from the real world to the digital world. However, it is not something that we are registering specifically. So what they did is they took 820,000 police reports. They did forms recognition, and they found out that, and I don't know the exact number, but a very large percentage of that crime was related to digital crime. And we also found out that 90% of fraud in the Netherlands is related to digital crime. So by doing this, we made something that is already available, but not registered in a certain way. We made it intelligent, and we're now, for example, being able to compare that with other countries and also see how that progresses. I'll skip this one. This is also a very innovative one. The Ministry of Infrastructure, it's called Rijkswaterstaat. They're responsible for all the bridges, roads, tunnels in the Netherlands. And one of their challenges was maintenance of bridges and waterworks. They used to send people over to a bridge, build a huge construct to make sure that they could see everything, and then see whether there is rust, there is cracks, they have to decide what is the time when we have to replace this bridge or to repair this bridge. And they now have a CEO drones, and they're applying AI to use these images to instantly translate it in a quality report of a bridge, having it much quicker and much safer and at hand, which is a nice example of using AI. This is my last slide. This is let's say a presentation and a representation of all the organizations that we interviewed with Ernst & Young. As you can see, most of them are in the explore phase on the left side of the model. There's only a few transformers, and I hope that the Indian government is moving into the innovators and transformers area. And for that, it is important to make sure that the leadership start with strategy development and start to think with the core mission in mind, develop skills within the organization. And I hope to hear the examples of India next time in my Dutch government session and see
Sure.
how we can help inspire each other. So thank you very much.
In the next few minutes, I'll be talking more around how we can use the Microsoft AI services to build up certain solutions which are required for citizen services. Under the Microsoft Cognitive Services group, the AI services which we have, the AI services today is divided into 5 pillars, and each 5 pillar have multiple sub-services which are offered and which can be used in various ways with respect to building up the AI solutions on top of it. For example, we have speech models available for Indian languages, and I'll be talking about it, that can be used to build up various solutions. It can be solutions which can be related to conversations. It can be solutions related to speaker identifications and things like this. So we do have services, speech to text, text to speech, the neural text-to-speech or speaker identification services under speech. Similarly, if you talk about vision, we have services or a platform where we can recognize objects, we can recognize faces, we can digitize the various forms by form recognizer services. Okay? And similarly, we have translation services under language pillar, where you can translate one text to another text. Think of that, you have an English text and you want to translate it into various other Indic languages. And similarly, we have a Q&A maker, bot services, and an intent identification services, which are very, very helpful when we start building up solutions on top of it to understand what the person is, what the user is saying, to understand the intent, to build up a bot quickly. And similarly, we have web search services and decision services. Now, before I go deep into the speech services which are available, but I wanted to talk about certain solutions which are built by our customers on top of our speech platform and other cognitive services platform. So one of the hero scenario, which is for which a lot of customers as well as the government organizations are approaching, is basically around the helpline numbers or the call center numbers. So for example, in the government we do have these helpline numbers. For example, we call 100 for police, or we call 102 for ambulance. And today, when a call comes to the call center, okay, everything is done by manual, listening to the call, directing the ambulance to the required area, or directing the police to the required areas, and then detailing out what the conversation has been done, and then recording it up. All this has been done today manually. Now, many of the customers across the board are using speech services to, for example, front-ending these conversations with the bot. So, for example, when a person calls on to the police station or for an ambulance, there are some of the trivial things. Okay, I need an ambulance. Okay, so the bot can just listen to what the customer is saying, interact it back. Today, we have these solutions available built on top of our platform, where the bot can converse with the user, and then can complete some of these tasks, or then if it is not able to complete, then we can pass across the context to the real human or agent. So one such use case, we call it as an IVR bot kind of a scenario, where bot can front end the conversations into the contact centers, maybe the helpline numbers and things like this. Similarly, for example, so many conversations has come in today, okay, where the person is asking for various help over the government helpline numbers. Now, today, when a person speaks in Kannada, you would like a human agent to be speaking back in Kannada, because he doesn't understand kind of English if a human agent is speaking in English. So think of that, you can use these, you can build up the solution, or we can build up the solution which can route, depending on what the customer language is, it can route it to the human agent who understands that language. Okay, so Kannada talking to a Kannadian person, Tamilian person talking to a Tamilian person, think of like. So intelligent routing algorithms can be developed to make sure that the conversation can be more and more effective. Okay? And especially in such situations which are like a very critical situations to handle. So this is one of the use case which is widely used. Second use case, which is predominantly being used in education sector. So in the education today in rural India, we see that there are very less number of teachers as compared to the number of the students in the schools which are available. The ratio between the teacher and the student has been actually skewed up in India, okay, especially in this pandemic situation when everything needs to be online. Now we have seen that customers building up solutions like teacher bots, okay, or training bots, where the bot can teach to the student as human as the teacher can do it. Okay, so think of that. Now we are enabling all the rural areas, okay, to kind of get the similar kind of education which an urban person can get in, because the bot is well educated into the specified domains and can teach the students in various ways. And not only it can teach in a very interactive and in a language of the student, but it can also, we have a tech in place wherein it can evaluate, okay, when the student is speaking out, it can evaluate the performance of the students and things like this. So the complete educational solution, online educational solution, can be delivered via bots, based on speech, based on NLP and things like this. And so this is another area where we have seen that many of our customers are using these platforms or these AI services. And another is the skill development. For example, okay, we have seen multiple of the customers using are solutions for building up, especially for new hires. Okay, many of the new hires comes into the market, comes into any industry, whether it is a manufacturing industry, whether it is a call center industry, whether it is a health industry, and they need to be trained in order to get onto the field ready. So, and there is a lot of time which goes in training these people. So now think of that, all this can be automated by using the speech services, by using bots and the conversation platform which that is available. Okay, so this is another use case which I'm seeing a lot being used into it. Another use case which I am seeing which is very useful is basically translation of the documents, translation of the content. For example, today in agriculture, I was just going through this site which is agrimarket.mic.in, where I think government publish the price of all the commodities across the district in a daily basis, and most of it is available in English. And now many of our rural areas, people don't know, okay, people cannot read and write. Okay, at that point in time, think of that, if this information can be available just on one click over the phone. Okay, so, and this can be possible again by using these AI services. We can get this information possible over to your phone using these services. I was talking about the translation of, so this whole, all of this, for example, I was talking about agriculture where this information can be then available, okay, just on a click of, like, user can just ask on the phone. These users who are in the rural, they cannot read and write, they can just ask over the phone. Like in the mobile world, everybody has a mobile, okay, and they can just ask it, and then the kind of phone can answer that details to them, okay, and this can definitely help them understand or being more productive. Similarly, if there are web documents which are government documents which are available only in English, now we have translation services available which can convert these languages into other Indic languages, and this content can be available to all the citizens across India. Another one which we are going after is the smart cities. Okay, in the smart cities, whether you talk about safety surveillance or wanted to know about traffic status, or in the pandemic situation you wanted to understand that whether the people are wearing masks, okay, object identification and things. These services which are there in the cognitive service suites can be used to build up solutions to make for such kind of things also. Okay, so recently one of our customer is using these services into their refinery. For example, in the refinery there are few thousands of cameras which has been installed. They wanted to detect the motion. The motion can be with respect to a person, it can be with respect to an object, or it can be with respect to even the air, the chemicals which has been kind of get released into the refinery. Okay, so they are using the vision services to identify the motion and then track the motion of the object across the various cameras to identify what it is leading to. So this is the power of these vision services. And then I was just saying about, then we have these speaker identification services, especially in the warehouses. We have seen that in order to avoid fraud, and I'll be giving the demo of that also, in order to avoid fraud, people are now using the biometric space. Like it can be a facial recognition, it can be a speech recognition, which can be used to avoid frauds. Okay, and then one of the services on which the solutions is being built on top of it is called a speaker identification service, where with the voice itself you can identify who is speaking, and based on that you can decide what kind of authentication mechanisms can be given to him or her in the warehouses or on the online systems and things like that. So, and the services, like last but not the least, like services like KYC verifications across various languages and things can be now automated by using these services. So if you see all these services are being used across healthcare, across transportation, across education and smart infrastructure to build solutions on top of these. Now coming back to what is available for India market. So from an India language perspective, today we have these 6 language models which are already available and which has been used by various customers. For example, our speech to text has been available for Indian English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Marathi, which means that if you have a conversation which has been spoken in any of these languages, that can be transcribed very easily. Once it is transcribed to text, then you can think of millions of solutions which can be built on top of this text. And similarly, we have text-to-speech services, we have translation services, and all these services have multiple features. I'll not go into each and every feature, but one of the unique feature which I wanted to talk about, which is very specific to India market, is today when we talk, whether you talk on the call center, whether you talk in a general conversation, we tend to mix a lot between English and our mother tongue. So for example, if I'm a Hindi speaker, I use a lot of English words during the conversations, okay? Similarly, my accent, my dialect differs, okay? Even a North Indian speaking in Hindi versus a South Indian speaking. And even within the North Indian, if you are talking about Kashmiri versus to Punjabi speaking Hindi, the dialects and the accents completely differ. These models today, which is there, they have been trained on such a large amount of diversified data. So as a result of it, all these kind of things, the technology is in place, which takes care of person speaking in a English kind of a language, mixing between a mother tongue like Tamil and English, or Hindi and English, or person using different dialects, different accents and things like this. So all this is already, like, the technology is in place. Similarly, from a translation perspective, we do have like 11 languages which are available, where you can convert from, for example, Hindi document to a Telugu document to a Punjabi document and things like this. And this is just kind of and as we are speaking, our team is working on to make sure that this languages has been kind of extended to other languages. We have these features covering all major languages of India market. So this I have already talked about the contact centers and the help desk and how can we use the various speech solutions, the bot solutions, the NLP solutions which we can build on top to kind of making sure that all this can be automated so that we can reduce, we can increase the customer satisfaction, we can make the first touch of the citizens very smooth when they go and contact these helpline numbers. So I wanted to kind of give you a flavor of this. So let me show you one demo. I'm going to play. So this is not specific to the helpline, but it will give you a flavor of when a call comes onto the call center. How does the call look like? There will be a lot of background noise. There will be different accents, dialects, and all. And how the solutions, what are the various solutions which are built on top of, like how these technology is converting as the person is speaking in and transcribing the text, and once the text is transcribed, what are the various solutions which can be built on top of it, okay? And this is a real call which has come on to one of the call center, which is related to a package delivery call, okay? So yeah, I'm going to play it up. Just let me know whether you can hear the sound.
Yeah,
you can hear. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
वो 27 मार्च का तो अब तक ना मुझे कोई कॉल आया था, मेरा एसेंट रुका हुआ है।
ठीक है, मैं चेक कर रही हूँ, आप जाएंगे कंटिन्यू के लिए आप मुझे।
So I'm just stopping this call, but you can see there's a lot of background noise when a customer, for example, when a person calls onto the helpline numbers also, there will be a lot of background noise. If there is an accidental scene, you will see a lot of kind of a honking which is happening, okay? So, and you will see the conversation which is happening, okay? The person is using a lot of English words into this conversation. Na to mujhe call is an English word, item is an English word, okay? And then 24 Tarik is an Hindi word. So this whole solution which is built by one of our which is built up is basically to understand, okay, and get deep insights from the conversations which has happened till now into the call centers. So if you see that he's using a lot of English words, the customer is using a lot of English words and Hindi words, you can see how it has been able to extract the important. 24 Tarik in itself is nothing, but in context of this conversation, it becomes a really important key phrase to be extracted. It can even tell solutions like where you wanted to understand whether the people on the helpline numbers, how they are doing, whether they are greeting the customers properly, whether they are mentioning the company names and things like that. With the whole quality check of the people who are taking up the call, the agents, can be completely automated. And similarly, we have these services under language pillar, which is called as sentiment analysis. So we can even understand as the call is going on, or if the call is even kind of previously done, how the sentiments of the customer are on the call, whether the customer was really angry while doing the conversation, or like for example when he said na to mujhe call aaya na mera item pick up hua, that means that the customer is not really happy with the services. Okay, and it actually shows you the depth as the customer is saying. So there are services like sentiment analysis, there are services like speech to text, which on the top of which we can build these kind of solutions. I have one last, and after that I am done, Rohini, and maybe we can take the questions afterwards. It's just a 2-second demo.
Okay, yeah, sure. Please.
Yeah, so this demo will be more around how can for example in the logistics space we can basically use the facial recognition and the speech identification services to avoid the frauds. Okay, and this has been done right now for an English customer, okay, that US customer using English language, but think of that this is all available for India market for Indic languages too. I'm just going to play this up.
My name is unknown to you.
So I'm just stopping this video out here, but you can get the flavor of how the facial recognition and the speech services, okay, you can use it up to avoid the frauds and kind of uplift your authentication mechanism, both online as well as into the warehouses and things like this. These are the neural TTS models. These are like world-class machine learning models which are there, which has been built across for various languages like Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, and Gujarati, Marathi is on the way. And next is Bangla, Kannada, and all that. So I'm going to play, like now with the help of these models, you can convert any text into the voice, okay? And think of that, the power of these is now you can send up any messages. You have these, I'm just going through one of the traffic signal, and on the traffic, there is a person who is continuously telling about, there is a voice which is continuously telling about the safety rules during the Corona time and things like this. Now, all this can be automated by just using this API. I'm just going to play this up. So you can see that the stock market, the investors, all these are English words, okay? But still it is able to, now the neural TTS, Hindi neural TTS is able to speak it up properly. Similarly, let me show you Tamil one. Yeah, so we have these Indic languages, let me play one, male voice also.
Visit Bharat Parv 2020 and get introduced to India's rich wealth of art, culture and tradition.
So think of that, any sentence, okay, which can be given, and it can even have in Hindi words like Bharat, Parv and all that, but still the voice, you will be able to convert it into a neural voice, which seems like a human talking. Okay, and many of the customers have used it up even to make send out dynamic personalized messages, okay, to their users. I think that's all I have.
I must thank the entire team. Mr. Rob is here, or
yeah, he left. He had some other commitment.
Rob and Shelly and Rohini, and thank you for moderating it so well and taking up the questions and all. And given by the number of questions which have been asked, it shows the kind of interest people have been taking. And we had speakers from we had very senior people from across the country, and including UID authority. Vivek is here, and Vivek was mentioning that some of these technologies are also available in open source, and they are using it in UID, in not only UID but at the X step also. And we also had from Tamil Nadu, the CTO of ELCOT was CEO of ELCOT was here. Many senior officials from Government of India and many state governments were here, and they all participated and put forward their questions. So this shows that there is a desire to get to know what's happening, and the use cases that were shared by Shelly as well as by Rob also showed in what ways we can leverage technology in order to make services more accessible, better in every way we can. So I thank you all for doing this. I think what we'll do is that we will answer them offline.
Yeah, sure.
We look forward to doing this. We have planned it as a monthly event. So the next event will also happen sometime in third week of February, and we will look forward to getting a feedback from all the participants with regard to what they like, what more they would like us to address with regard to emerging technologies. So it's AI Pe Charcha. These sessions will continue every month, and we'll be getting practitioners from government, from industry, who will be sharing their insights into how technology is helping transform lives. So thank you once again, Rohini and the entire team of Microsoft for doing this, and we look forward to a continued engagement in the days to come.
Yes, please.
So there is a question saying that data is important for AI to be intelligent, from Sohan Nautiyal. Data is important for AI to be intelligent. What are the challenges the Dutch government has foresee for AI e-governance projects for sharing of data? How effective is data which is shared?
To be honest, data is not effectively shared within the Dutch government. So within the ministries, data is still in silos. And organizations are struggling with data governance, data management, and with data classification. So being able to detect which information is more confidential and should not be shared, for example, or where information is about personal information, that is something the Dutch government is struggling with. What is an interesting development is that we see that the Dutch government has chosen to share information in a different way than they used to do. For example, if you look at the pension information that is being copied, and that's a lot of information is being copied between 5 ministries. They now made a decision that this information will stay at the place where it is generated, and information will be shared with APIs. So we have a much more strategy of sharing this in a much more intelligent way. The municipalities are currently leading with that. They have something they call common ground, where they share this information based on APIs and making it more efficient. By the way, this model has been copied by a small country in the north of Europe. It's called Estonia. Maybe you heard of it. And we are basically building this copying this initiative. So that is step one. And on a European level, there is a project called Gaia X, and that is investigating in how we more efficiently can share information on a federated way. So the future is, I would almost say, federated, interoperable, and even portable. So that's in the strategy, but to be honest, we aren't. We are making just the first steps.
Please tell us about path-breaking initiatives which have been undertaken from public-private partnership perspective to accelerate the utilization of AI in the Dutch government, and how is AI being used in healthcare sector?
Okay, it's a very interesting question.
Yes.
So in the Netherlands, we do have a private-public cooperation, and it's called the Dutch AI Coalition. And this Dutch AI Coalition focuses first of all on data sharing, so the topic that we just discussed. How can we better share information in the Netherlands between entities? And we do have, so it's built up of all kind of, let's say, subgroups. And these subgroups are, for example, focused on the defense industry, on healthcare, on what we call brainport, the high-tech industry, automotive. So we do have, and these coalitions are open for not just government entities, but also for companies to collaborate on having standards. And healthcare is a very specific one, because in healthcare we do struggle with the fact that, first of all, there is not enough metadata alignment. Let's say on a metadata having the right the metadata to interchange information. So that is something we have to standardize on. SNOMED is an example of that. And what we see in healthcare is that HL7 and the FHIR protocol, in order to exchange data, is being adopted. So in the healthcare coalition, we are currently also, Microsoft is actively participating with FHIR and HL7 in making sure that we have a much more efficient way of interchanging information in healthcare. Another topic that is related to that is that we are currently doing investigation in the identity platform that is required to give patients and citizens control over their data. So we want to have the patient and the citizen in the middle to make sure that information between doctors or between hospitals is shared or can be shared, but only with your permission. And we're currently in the middle of standardization of that approach, which is a nice example of using AI.
Related to that, there is an interesting question, Rob, which is about.
It's an interesting question. Let's say I do have an idea about it. So we are using AI, for example. We have used AI for in combination with drones for hurricanes.
Yeah.
So, for example, to predict what are the areas where there are likely the most people under the trees or under the debris. So AI is being used to analyze the images, but also bring into account where traffic could have been driving, where people have been living, and those kind of things. So I could imagine that this could also be applied to forest fires. However, I haven't been personally involved with such an example. So, but it's definitely an interesting scenario.
Which is on actually the infrastructure required to train this massive data in terms of labeling, hardware, and accelerators. And I'm sure that's something that you guys have thought about and are thinking about how best to be efficient about that infrastructure.
The infrastructure from some of the projects is still pretty small. So some of the things that are let's say are still in a more. So this inspection of bridges and viaducts is interesting. It is a first way to build up skills, experience, and those kind of things. So there hasn't been a huge infrastructure for that. If I go to the European Union example, Microsoft has been providing the Azure infrastructure to do this. And we had in government a very interesting scenario. We do have an organization that is collecting all images of all buildings, roads, and but even for 5 years they have a history of 5 years, and they drive around with cars, and this information is being used by municipalities, by the Ministry of Defense, by police, whatever. And because of GDPR, they had to morph all the faces and all the license plates on these, all the personal information in this 5-year information. And they used Azure, and it even took them a couple of months, so 4 months, to morph 400 petabyte of data. But it had not been possible without cloud technology to do such a thing. And after that, they just stopped the environment and continue with their regular business.
How much interactive or effective are these bots in real case scenarios? Are there any studies or results in public domain that are available?
Yes.
Particularly, I think it was referring to the one that you were speaking about in the education world. And I wanted to also just comment in terms of, you didn't talk about the bots, but I think one of the important elements to bring out is that you do want to keep the human in the loop and make the AI as really an augmentation and not just leave education in the hands of bots. So maybe you could just comment on both of these points.
Yeah. So basically, no way we are saying we are replacing human. It is just making the current process more optimized, more productive. So the way the bot today, the technology is in place where the bots can do trivial tasks. Because of the confidential reasons, I cannot name the customers, but there are customers, Indian customers, who are using these services for the online educational platforms. Okay, so as Rohini has clearly mentioned, these are the things where the bots can complete various trivial tasks like teaching one language in a very interactive way. They can do it up, but when it comes to asking questions to the bot, it can answer to some extent, but we really need at this point in time human in a loop. May not be all the people in the loop, but there are few people in the loop. When the bot fails, it can kind of backfill it up with a real human there. So that is what the technology is in place. So one is to answer your question, yes, there are customers who are using it for online educational platform. Second is the technology is at this point in time where the bot can teach the specific language in a very interactive way, given the flow and everything is fixed. But whenever there is a lot of diversion from the current flow, we need a real human into the loop.
There is one question on the accuracy of machine translation of Indian languages text to English and vice versa. What is the accuracy?
The accuracy of, especially when it comes to translation from English language to other language, it is very high accuracy. In fact, I wanted to show you a demo also for that, but I think we don't have time for showcasing it up, Rohini. So, but to answer your question, I think in our current environment, when we measure it up, okay, we see even greater than 90% accuracy when it comes to text-to-text translation from English to any other antique languages. But again, as we measure up onto the customer documents and everything, we can see a difference. But we do have also the custom translation where we can up-notch further the translation quality. So we do have tools in place to increase the translation quality on the customer use cases in case if we see low. But however, in general, our English to any other language translation is really good. Greater than 90% accuracy, we see it in our test results.
Center of E-Governance is asking that we've shown this customer call recording and she has data privacy concerns. And I know that we take data privacy very, very seriously. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about how do we make sure that customer privacy.
Perspective, okay. Usually, one of the important thing which we do is we make sure we sign, first of all, there is an agreement which says that how we are going to maintain the accuracy of the data. Once the data is always uploaded in a very secured manner to the Azure blob storage. Once the data is uploaded, okay, we make sure that it has been kind of used in a very, very closed environment, so that nobody has an access except the customer and us to kind of look at the data. Second thing is that once that models are trained, that data will be completely deleted from our system. It will be once that models have learned the important key terms from the data does not reside with us. So in no way that can be leaked, okay, outside the system.
As I will add to what Shelly was just saying, Dr. Charu, and I think it's an important question. The data the example that you are seeing clearly is a particular call recording, but everything that you are seeing has been completely de-anonymized. So from a privacy perspective, when we work for a specific customer, that customer's data is with the customer, and their models are trained on that customer, and nobody else has access to it, which is the point that Sherry was making. So we can take the conversation more offline, but this is a topic that is taken very, very seriously. Because this is one place where that's why I picked up your question, because ethics of and responsible AI is a topic that we've invested a lot, and privacy today is in fact International Privacy Day, so the question is also very, very time relevant. But if the training material is used for training, it's completely anonymized. And if it's for a particular customer, that the customer's data is that customer's, nobody else has access to it, not even Microsoft. Nobody in Microsoft has access to it. And it follows a whole set of security, governance, and principles and technology that we can get into a long conversation. There were some questions on real world healthcare imaging. Any case study on healthcare? And you spoke about sort of the vision part of it, but I think the question is a little bit broader. So maybe you could put some comments and I'll add to yours.
Yeah, so for example, in the healthcare domain, we do have a centralized team which takes care of the complete healthcare. They have systems from healthcare bots to the vision systems, which can even scan the x-rays, scan the various images, and gives the various details about the results. And it can even have, we have partnered with few of the companies where we are talking about the systems, like when a doctor and the patient is talking, okay, how can this whole thing be kind of automated? Today, every prescription the doctor has to write it up, and then it has to be kind of send it to the centralized server. Now think of that, as the doctor is talking, his full attention is on the patient, and everything automatically is getting recorded, and the complete insight, the summarized form of that prescription is just getting kind of printed out. Okay, so things like, with the help of all these services together, we are working into the healthcare domain, okay, across from the bot solutions to the imaging solutions to getting the deeper insights of it, or using speech as a media to make sure that we summarize the various conversations which is happening between the doctor and the patient. So as we are speaking, we right now, again, as I said, okay, our bots are getting trained on the healthcare data today. I won't say that to be very transparent that we are completely there, but as we have collected a lot of healthcare data on which the bots are being trained, and the accuracy is increasing day by day on the various languages.
So so to add to what Shelly said, the question that you were also talking about imaging, right? This is a topic of significant work. And see, the way Microsoft, and although Sherry spoke about some of the speech areas, in fact, the main way in which we work is a whole set of partners who are using both the computation as well as the machine learning data pipelines, as well as machine learning studio, which allows you to play with the data almost like a drag and drop, and offers automatic machine learning techniques, etc. Point I'm making is that there are a whole range of partners who work in this space of healthcare imaging. So, for example, healthcare imaging for the areas of TB detection, for many of the other symptoms on MRI data. These are areas of huge research. Similarly, I'm sure you've heard about diabetic retinopathy detection using retinal images. These are the areas being worked on and are out there. Our partners are using those, are sort of deploying those solutions with customers. Same way in the COVID world, there was work happening on being able to train data using cough to be able to understand the acoustic and the wavelength, the kind of spectrum of a cough, what might it sound like for a COVID patient. So there are a lot of such similar, not just imaging, but different kinds of healthcare solutions being built. The next question, which I just want to bring out in the interest of time, is there's one question, Shelly, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but is AI being used for environmental pollution monitoring and control?
I just know that, So I don't have much thoughts of here, but as I was telling you, one of the customer has been using the services like vision services, custom vision models, okay, where they wanted to detect about the leak of certain gases into their refineries. Okay, so it can be, so these vision services, the way these models have been created, they can detect the motion with respect to any human, any object, and even the gases also. Okay, so that is one of the solution which I am aware of, but I can go back and kind of bring in other things which the global team is doing across the world in this area.
Accuracy. Just like to add that Microsoft browser, the Edge browser that people might be using on Windows, we have a translator plugin for that which is available free of cost. You can translate almost 60 plus languages, and there are Indian languages also in that, about 8 to 9 of them. So please feel free to use that and check the accuracy for your own self. In fact, any website that you're viewing, if it is in a different language, you can immediately transfer it and read it in your own language that you want to read, especially English and other Indian languages, and you can check that.
Yeah, in fact, I'm showing you live here. Like if you can see my screen, you can see like I have opened up the Hindi page, okay, and it is a Aaj Tak page, which is a Hindi page which has been opened up. Now there is a plugin which, as Tarun mentioned, that there was a plugin which Edge provides. It is asking me, you are not a Hindi user, do you want to translate it up? I'm just going to say translate. It is doing a live translation right now. And just see, within a second, the whole page has been translated nicely from Hindi to English. So I would say you can go and play with it. In the Edge browser, you can see these pages automatically being translated. So
in fact, we did a translation on the MyGov site, and a lot of comments that were coming in. Somebody has actually written Vyapar as VYAPAR. It actually translated that, which was a Hindi word written in English. It actually translated into a real Hindi language called Vyapar. So that's the power of these models that we have built on language translation. I would encourage you, this tool is available free of cost, not only on Edge, it is also part of Microsoft Office 365. And if you are using Office 365, please feel free to use it. You can translate your documents and stuff like that very easily on that. And you'll see the power of these APIs that are available. It's the same API which is available as a service for you to use in any of your applications, which are being made available free of cost for you to use on Edge browser as well as Office product.